So let's get started, guys. So my name is Ido. I'm your community manager. If you haven't seen my face yet, I hope you're going to see it more often because I'm going to be joining you in more webinars. And today we're going to talk to you about how did we build this amazing Editor X homepage, which is actually so good that it's actually competing in the Webby Awards, which is nice. And we're going to share a little bit behind the scenes on how did we come up with it, like a little bit about the strategy. Maria is going to cover that. And then we have Ido talking a little bit about the build. So he is part of the team that has built this amazing homepage for us. And there's so much little secrets and hidden things there that we added to showcase a little bit of the capabilities of Editor X. So we have a lot to cover. And at the end, before the Q&A, I'm going to share a contest that we're actually running, which is also a good opportunity for you to showcase your best work and perhaps get a prize. Who knows? So let's maybe get started. And for that, I'm going to invite Maria to share a little bit about the behind the scenes and the marketing decisions. So Maria, take it away.
Sure. Thank you so much, Edu. And hello, everybody. As Edu said, I'm Maria from the X team, and I'm going to dive straight in. So I'm hoping lots of you have seen our homepage. If you haven't, and you're already logged in, which I also hope you are, if you're logged into Editor X, you won't see it. You're going to bypass it and go to my site. So Edu is going to send you now a special link in the chat so that you can take a look at the page and explore it while we're going through this webinar. So just let's take a quick scroll through here, and you'll notice right away that our page is very light on content. It's very tight and direct and to the point, in line with our brand voice guidelines. It was crafted by a very talented content writer, Diane, from the team. And you'll also see straight away that it's a heavily visual page. So the page shows off a lot of our key features visually. So the approach that we took in general was a show, don't tell approach to our brand's key message. We want to, especially because we're catering to such a design-oriented audience, and our product is so design-focused. So we're going to show you how to build some of these sections. I won't actually, Ido will show you how to build some of these sections in a few minutes. But first, I want us to take a little bit of perspective on the goals for this page and how we tackled it from a marketing perspective. So as a lot of you, if you know Editor X, if you've been exploring us for a little while, you'll know a few things about us, but put simply, this page, as with all homepages, is a gateway for potential creators to sign up to Editor X. So we needed to provide an overview of our entire offering, as with all homepages. So Editor X has an extremely broad offering. It's a massive platform with a huge range of products and solutions, from design and collaboration features, business, marketing solutions that go all the way to the end client. So one of our key challenges here in building this page and structuring it was honing in on what's the most important message and figuring out how to get this message across quickly and elegantly, and especially in a way that would appeal to our intended audience, which is in fact you. So basically what we had in our minds was what matters most to designers and agency professionals like you. So there were a few ways that we did this. And first of all, of course, there were a lot of teams involved, and from design to SEO to BI to product marketing to content. So one of the things that we did was to just map out our key value propositions, as I'm sure lots of you do for projects all the time. This is our approach that I'm sharing, and we're very curious to hear your approach in the chat if you feel free to share. So what we did was we figured out the hierarchy. That was the most important first step between all of our propositions into how we could structure that into a page. So as I'm sure lots of you also know, long scroll pages are becoming very common. People are used to having to scroll to get information, but still, I think the latest stats is 81% are still only looking at the first 3 folds of a page. So we bore this in mind, of course, while we were building our structure, and we really wanted to place our most significant value propositions really early on in the page. And here is also where our SEO strategists and specialists came into play here, because they were helping us guide us towards this optimal content structuring to help us convey our core message to you, our target audience, and also, of course, in this day and age, to search engines, to make sure that we're relevant on search. So a few of the approaches that the SEO team use is through analyzing topic hierarchy, there's a lot of smart internal linking within the page, and of course we did the content team worked with some keyword targeting. But also, I think it's important that I point this out, that a lot of it was just us putting ourselves into the minds of prospective creators like you. So one of the driving factors behind building this structure was telling a story in a logical build order. So we wanted to really talk to designers who are approaching a website and considering a platform that they might want to use. And so one of the ways that we've structured it here is, starting with the design elements, throwing things onto the canvas, how you'd start sort of prototyping your design. And then once that's in place, you'll loop in other team members, perhaps. I'm sure lots of you guys work with other collaborators and contributors on your site. So it was important for us to put that in your minds as a viewer of this page. Then comes the moment when you want to be adding content to your page, perhaps through a back office CMS with some dynamic content, if you've got a lot of rich content for a brand. And then you might loop in a developer and add some extra custom code to really break those boundaries of the site. And once you've got all the way there, you might start thinking about all the really deep infrastructure that you need to be going on this page. So that's why in terms of story, we've positioned our business and marketing solutions here underneath the creation aspects. And then if you get that far, once you've been scrolling the page for that far and we've managed to keep you interested, it's a moment that we chose to inject a little bit of trust here. So of course, switching a website builder or choosing a website builder is a huge decision for a professional. And so we wanted to really show the viewer that they can feel confident that they're surrounded by other creators who've produced some truly beautiful things. And this I say with great pride about the wonderful creators that we have on our platform, building some really beautiful things. So we thought it was important to give them a space here on this page as a representation of other creators to show off their work. So, and then of course the story builds further. If we've got your interest and you are interested in trying out the platform, you might be interested in how to learn it. So we've got Academy resources, then you might wonder if there's a community surrounding it. So it was really, most of it was logic with how to build the structure of this page. So, and I mentioned SEO very briefly back there, but I want to say that our SEO strategist, Carly, is here with us today. She'll join us at the end. So if you do have any SEO related questions about projects that you're working on or about questions for us, do throw them in the chat, because Carly will be happy to help out, and we could have a good conversation about that as well. So let's take a look for us at the first fold of our page. Just gonna whiz all the way back up here. So here we have a very quick what, why, and what next. As I said, people don't tend to scroll. Most people stay at the top. So we really need to grab those immediate conversions with the very first thing that we say. So, and that what, why, what next, if any of you studied copywriting or content, you'll know that it's the golden rules in terms of copy. So what we're doing here is quickly telling the right people that they've come to the right place. So in terms of the what, we've got a heavy product placement in terms of visuals. And as I said, because we're a visual brand, we're not just relying on the content here, we're heavily relying on the visuals to convey our message. So you'll see it's not an abstract impression of the editor or the platform. It is actually what the editor looks like. Inside, we want to give you a real honest glimpse of the kind of tool that you'll be working with. By the same token, we're not afraid to perhaps put off a more basic user who might need a different tool. We're happy to say here that this is a complex design tool with lots of advanced features. We've got our inspector panel open, which is important for that intent. And Also, in terms of the what, we're selling a little bit of a dream here with our title. We do believe that, you know, EditorX is the way forward for professional web designers, and the sub message here is that, you know, if this is the new standard and you're not with us, then you will fall behind. So that was the copy approach here. And then, of course, in terms of the why, we're approaching two of our key value propositions right off the bat. So we've got the fact that we're a very advanced design tool, but we also can, you know, take you straight to production all in one environment is very important for us. And we think it's important that a viewer will know this straight away. And the second factor is this very deep responsive CSS control, but powered in a very smooth drag and drop environment. So we believe that they're hooks and important things to say about our brand early on. And so, and then we come to the what next, which is pretty clear here with our CTA with Start Creating. And, you know, there aren't any lengthy sign up flows for EditorX. You don't have to go through payment pages and stuff. So we're straight to the point here that if you're interested, then you can go run with it, build sites, go live with them if you wish. So this fold here was, of course, to help those immediate conversions for people who are pretty convinced already that they want to sign up. So let's take a look at this next point I wanted to make here. Of course, BI comes into play when we're building a page like this. And from reviewing our own page BI, we did notice the standard pattern. So the first few folds are grabbing the most clicks. The first one and the second one, in fact, they've got people signing up to EditorX fastest. But actually in third place was our final fold, which was right at the bottom of the page, was getting the third highest number of clicks, which for us was a great success because it means that we've successfully encouraged a large proportion of our viewers to scroll and to reveal and review the full story that we wanted to tell them. So what I would like to do now is to talk a little bit about some of the ways that we encouraged that scrolling behavior so that we could get the right people to get interested in our page and to want to look more. So the first example, which Ido is going to go into in depth with you, is this very first moment when you, just as soon as you touch the mouse here and you start to scroll, you trigger a shift in the design that's intentional. It raises the curiosity of a visually stimulated audience like you guys. And B, it also showcases one of our key features, which is a sticky position feature, which is very popular. And it's a very beautiful use case of this feature, and it helps support our brand message in a lovely way. So Ido, I'd love it if you could dive in and show our viewers how to create this effect.
Sure, let me just take over the screen sharing here.
Just in the meanwhile, while Ido is sharing his screen, just a reminder, guys, if you want to use the Q&A box so you can ask the questions there, we want to make sure that we don't lose anything. So you can use the Q&A. It's just besides the raise hand button at the bottom there. So you can ask as many questions as you want. Just want to make sure we don't lose it. So go, take it away, Ido.
All right, so hi everybody. My name is Ido. I'm a technical designer here at the EditorX team. And I was also part of building our lovely homepage, which of course was built completely in EditorX. And the effect that we get here on the initial scroll is basically using a sticky effect. We see that as we scroll down, this control container, we'll call it, is scrolling with us as we scroll the page. It's following us, and it stops exactly in this position here. And as we continue scrolling, it stays where it is. So I want to show how we set this up. All right, so first of all, let's take a look. I've cleaned up a bit, so we only have the elements that we need for this specific effect. So all the other elements that you see here, I've cleaned up for the purpose of this demonstration. So what we have here is a section. The first and second fold are basically part of one section. And this section is actually divided into two rows using our CSS grid capability. So as you can see, I have a section and it has 2 rows. And it's one section. The reason that it is one section, it's crucial to the effect that we're trying to achieve here. So first of all, let's talk about the elements that we have here. Here we have this image here. And in the second fold, we have a container that contains 2 images. And we also have this controls container, which has all our inspector panel and the top bar here. And these elements are separate from each other, meaning that this image is not in any way inside this container. They're totally separate. So first thing that we're going to do, the effect that we want to get is for the controls container to scroll and get under these images. And the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to go here to our inspector panel. And we're going to set the scroll effect to sticky. I selected the controls container and changed the scroll to sticky. Immediately what happened here is that when I set something to sticky, it pops to the front of every other element. So now the image is behind it. And I actually want to take it back again. So I'm going to go to my layers panel and I'm going to drag the container under the image. And now the image is on top again. So the way sticky works is that by default, the element sticks to the top of the page. And then when we reach the end of its parent container, so we have our child container, which is the controls container, and our parent container, as I said before, is the section itself. So the end of the section is here. So basically, sticky is going to make it stick to the top of the page. It's going to make this container stick to the top of the page. And when it reaches the end of its parent container, it's going to be swept away. And let's demonstrate that. All right. So you see now, as I scroll, when I reach the top of the page, the element sticks. And it keeps on sticking. And it will keep on sticking until I reach the edge of the section. And from this point, it will be swept away by its parent container, which is the section. All right, cool. So I think for our next step, we obviously don't want it sticking to the top. So how can we do that? How can we set that? I'm going to select my controls container. And I'm going to take a look at what's going on with its position. And I see that it's docked to the top with 26.1%. So I can take that value and I can use it. And I'm going to use it here in the top offset of the sticky. So I'm going to change this to 26.1%. And you see now when I preview, as I scroll, it's no longer sticking to the top, it's sticking 26.1% from the top because I set an offset. It's still going to go all the way to the end of the section. So now we have to tackle this issue. And we have to get a bit smart about it, but I personally love these kind of things. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this container here. And we're going to actually use Editor X features for calculation purposes. I'm going to do something momentarily, and then we're going to undo what I'm doing here, but I'm doing it just to get a value. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to use this container, which is docked right now to the left and to the top, and I'm going to dock it to the bottom. All right, so I get a value here, And because we are talking about responsive web design, the value here is in pixels, but I'm going to convert that to percentage. And I see that it's 13.6%. Cool, I'll remember that. Now I'm going to undo the last two steps because I want it to be like it was before. And now I'm going to select my controls container. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a bottom margin of 13.6%. So when I add a margin to an element, it's basically like adding an invisible block to the element. So when the control container reaches the position I want it to reach, it will be already touching the bottom of the section and will be swept away immediately. So let's see that in action. So I'm going to give here 13.6% bottom margin. I don't have to dock it. I'm just giving it a margin. And now let's preview. And as I scroll, you'll see that when I get to this point here, it's going to scroll along with me. And that's because basically when I get here, I'm already touching the edge of the section because of the margin I gave. And this is the full effect. And we also have some really cool Easter eggs hidden here. And Maria is going to tell you about them.
Sure. Thanks, Ido. So yes, Easter, that was super interesting. Another way that we do make sure that we're speaking and engaging with our specific target audience is through little subtle nods and winks, if you like, that might go unnoticed by others. By others, I mean those for whom the page maybe is not relevant. So we're on the team, we're all creators. So we ourselves had a lot of fun leaving a few Easter eggs for curious, like-minded people like you. There are a few of them throughout the page, so I'd be very interested to hear in the chat if you found any of them. But I'm going to point out one of them to you now, which I hope that if you were scrolling the page and exploring it and you happen to find it, it would be very satisfying. If you didn't, it's all good because we did get the message across within the content, within Diane's content. So if you were interested and curious about breakpoints and web design in general, you might have wandered your mouse over these little icons here, and you would have found these little hidden treasures. And I do hope that some of you did find them, because I know Ido spent a lot of time redesigning this site across all the breakpoints. So it would be great. And also if you hover over the add panel, you can explore a little bit on the canvas if you want to find out a little bit about the platform. So there are a few more Easter eggs throughout the page. So do write us in the chat if you've noticed any of them, or if you're noticing them now that we've drawn your attention to them. So next up, we're going to scroll down to the teamwork and collaboration section. So if any of you came to our Unstoppable event, you'll know that a huge focus for our product is team collaboration. So we wanted to dive into this value early on in the page. We're still only on fold 3 right now. So we're not a platform that's exclusively for teams. So this isn't a fold 1 message, but we do expect a large proportion of the audience that we're talking to collaborate in some way on most projects. So we wanted those people to see this right away. So in terms of visuals here, we went very demonstrative. So it's the functionality and the intent is instantly recognizable. We didn't go abstract again. It's very direct with these avatars, dotted lines connecting one team member to another, and cards suggesting the comments. Ido, if you want to reveal one of the Easter eggs, then please do. Here. Great, so we've just invited John to the team as well, which is one of our functions. And also, what better way to demonstrate the power of our product, again, with this show, don't tell approach, than with hover interactions. So this is one of our latest features that is currently in rollout. So some of you might already be playing with it. And we're silently and kind of casually showcasing a few of the transforms that we have on offer here, like translate and rotate, at the same time as talking about collaboration. So we're kind of combining our messages in one and giving you a general impression. here. So Ido, I'd love it if you show us how you built these interactions.
Sure. All right, so let's go back to editing mode. And let's scroll to our interactions, to our collaborations section, sorry. So in this section, we see this team member card layout here. And we have this comments card on top. And I'm just gonna choose not to display it now. Just a minute. And as you can see under it, there's an avatar and the name of the team member and his email. And what we want to achieve here is two things to happen. So we want this little, when we hover, we want this little circle here to rotate 180 degrees. And we also want the comments card to fly in from the left side to cover this avatar. So I'm just going to undo the not displaying here. And first thing that we want to do is select the parent container of all these elements. I'm going to do that from here. All right. So the way interactions work is that you apply them to a parent container and then animate its children. So now we have the parent container selected, and through the inspector panel, I can go to the interactions panel and click add hover interaction. And then I'm going to choose custom interactions. Cool. So as you can see, my layers panel is open here, and you see that everything is grayed out except the parent container itself. So I'm going to go into the parent container. And now I'm just going to select the container of the comments that's above. And I'm going to change the state here from hover to initial. And when I edit interactions in initial state, I'm basically editing the behavior of the elements when they're not hovered. So I'm editing the unhovered state first. So when I'm not hovering over the card, I want to change this translate X property here. And I'm going to change it to minus 200%. And immediately you'll see that when I press enter, it will throw this container here 200% to the left. Like so. All right, so that's that. Next thing I want to do is I want to choose this vector art, which is this circle here. And I want to change it to 180%. But I'm going to change the state first because I want it to change while I'm hovering. So I change the state to hover. And here in the rotate, I'll just put in 180. And last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my timings here. And I'm going to set the timings of the interactions to 0.4 seconds. And again, 0.4 seconds. And then I can hit done. And let's preview this. And immediately I can see that the interactions works, but I have an issue here because the comments card is visible outside the parent. So what we can do here is use a setting of the overflow of the container. So let's just select the parent container. And we'll go to the layout in the inspector panel. And in this overflow content setting, I'm going to change it to hide. And when we preview, Now it's working as it should.
Nice.
Cool.
Looks beautiful. Thank you, Ido. So I think, of course, I'm sure as lots of you know, there are so many ways to use hover interactions to get across a message and in so many different types of website and to generally give that feeling of the site responding to the viewer's gestures. So another key part of our offering, let's scroll down now to the business infrastructure section. So you'll see here, we also use some really simple interactions to illustrate our offering. We have, as I mentioned, we have a big range from, business solutions to marketing tools for the end client. And so we wanted to, first of all, visually show them. And if you're curious, if you hover, we have this very simple translate interaction coming in here from the left. And again, on the template strip, we used a simple hide show interaction to reveal a CTA. And this one's quite interesting because we've built it on a repeating layout, which gives you some great advantages in terms of efficiency of design. So I'd love it if you just give a quick glimpse at how fast this one was to set up these CTA interactions that you've added here.
Sure. All right. So I'll just scroll to the template section here and let's see how this is laid out. So basically what we have here is we have a repeater and there are under these black boxes with the CTA button, there is an image of the template. And basically we're doing another like cool interaction, really quick interaction here. When I'm not hovered over the box, I will see the image. And when I hover, the black box will change in opacity and cover the image. So let's do that. So first of all, as I said, we have to choose the parent container. In this case, the parent container is the repeater item itself. So I've chosen it, and I'm going to go to my interactions panel again. And I'm going to choose add other interaction, custom interaction. And then again, I'm going to go to my layers panel. And I'm going to choose this container here, which is the black box with the CTA. And I'm going to go to my initial state. And in the initial state, I want the opacity of this container to be 0 because I don't want it to show when I'm not hovered. And immediately you see what happens. And my timing, I like it. 0.3 seconds is fine for me. And I'm going to hit done. And then I'm going to preview. And it's that fast, and it's immediately applies to all the repeater items here.
Great. Thanks, Ido. That's a super efficient way to apply interactions. Thank you. So let's move back up for a second. A last point I'd like to make in the show, don't tell approach that we've used here is on our code section of the page. So again, we're addressing a highly visual audience, so we're wanting to make sure that our features are constantly speaking for themselves. So code capabilities are one of our strong competitive features, letting you take the lid off the platform in a number of ways and in a number of directions. So as we do describe the feature verbally, very succinctly here, but we also demonstrate the product very literally. So I'm sure some of you noticed, maybe you didn't, but this code snippet at the bottom actually can be used to reproduce the moving background gradient that you see in the design of this section. So gradients are a big part of our visual brand language, both static gradients and those in motion. And notice that we didn't mention the built-in IDE in our content. We just showed it really practically with a use case that we're presenting here. So, and also as a gift to the creators out there, we've added a little CTA for you to copy this snippet if you want. Do feel free to use it. Ido can explain more in a second, but when you see those purple dynamic parameters, that's for you to add your own element IDs there.
Yes. So basically, if you copy this this code snippet, just make sure well, the element that I'm referencing now, I called it background image in the editor itself, but in your sites it could be called something else. So this just has to match, of course.
Perfect. Yes. So whether you're familiar with code and comfortable using it already, or if you want to learn more about how to use code on Editor X, we are going to be running a two-part webinar on Velo, which is the name of our open development platform. So if you're curious, do check it out on our webinars page. I think Shiri or Edu will share that link to the sign up in the chat if you're interested. But for now, Ido, let's take a look at this code snippet in action, how you applied it here.
All right, so first of all, in order to get into dev mode and to use Velo, we need to turn on dev mode, and it's from the top panel here. And then I'm going to turn on dev mode, and immediately we get an IDE here in which you can enter your code in. So Velo lets you add custom code and logic to your website, and I pasted this code snippet for the background animation effect. For those of you who know JavaScript, the syntax should be familiar. And what we're going to use is the Wix animation API. So here at the top, we're importing it. And inside the onReady function, I'm calling an activate background animation function, which I defined here. So basically, when the page is ready, this function will run. And let's talk about what we did here. So using the $W, that's a way for me to select an element, and I can reference that in the code. So, and I can set it as a variable like I did here. So I did $W, the ID of my background image, and set it to background image. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define a timeline. And a timeline, a Wix animation timeline is like a script. It's like a script for my animation. And it has some properties here. So first of all, the general properties is repeat -1. This means that it will repeat, the animation will repeat infinitely. And when I said yo-yo to true, it means that the animation will reach the end of the animation, and then it will animate back in reverse. And now for the animation itself, I'm using the add method here, and I'm referencing my background image because that's what I want the animation to be on. And I'm scaling the image by 1.8, so it's 1.8 of its size, and I'm rotating it 45 degrees. And I'm moving it 100 pixels on the x-axis. And the duration of the animation is set in milliseconds. So we have 15,000 milliseconds. So that's 15 seconds. So it's pretty like slow animation. And here, the timeline that I defined, I use the play method on it. And when we preview this, let's just get to that. You'll see that it's animating. And that's it. That's the effect that we get.
That's so cool, man. Amazing, amazing job. Thank you so much again, Maria and Ido. This was really, really cool. I know we have a lot of questions that came in. And a lot of people really thanking you both because you're really, really good in explaining this in a nice way, in a way that makes it very easy to understand. So this is really good. Thanks for that. So guys, we're gonna jump into a couple of questions, but just before we do it, remember that I told you we have a contest for your best web creation. So it's gonna be really hard URL. Make sure you remember that. So it's editorx.com/contest. Done. So you can submit your best work there, and then our designers, alongside with the the guys from Barcelona, designers as well. We're going to be choosing the winner, and we're going to have cool prizes. So just want to make sure you guys join the contest. Don't do that right now, because otherwise you're going to, forget us here. So stick with us for another while. We have the questions. And again, if you really like this homepage and you felt this was worthy your vote, you can go on Webby and vote for us, which is going to be really, really nice. We're going to be super thankful for you. I'll secretly share the link here just in case. And let's jump into Q&A. The first question I have is for you, Ido. And that was a question that came in from two different people, but it's around the sticky effect. And the question is, will it work in the smaller breakpoints?
Definitely, it will work in the smaller breakpoints. And furthermore, you can override it in the smaller breakpoints if you don't want it to work in the smaller breakpoints. So you have that choice. For example, in our homepage, we decided not to use that sticky effect in the smaller breakpoints.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense. That's cool. Another question for you. Are you ready for this? So you did the hover effect. So how does that work on mobile? Does it work there?
So basically, you can set it not to work on mobile if you don't want to, again. And the way it works on mobile, hover is the same as tap. So if you're developing and then you're using it on mobile, then when you tap, it will be the same as hovering.
Got it. Makes sense. This is another question, and I want to make, I don't know if I know where exactly they see that, but Hammond Muse asked, why did you choose 200% rather than 100%? That was probably when we were building the, was it during the interaction? Hammond, if you want to actually, add your thoughts on that. Just want to make sure I got your question right.
Problem.
That was probably during the.
I understand what he did.
Yeah.
What he asked. So I timed it in a way that I wanted to get the container to get there like slower. So I send it further away. When I said for the first time I tried to do it with 100%, but it came in too fast. So I sent it 200%, and that way it came in slower.
Got it. Cool, cool. Maria, I have a question for you. What's your favorite part of the website?
I don't know, actually. I guess probably the Easter egg section, or possibly the showcase of the beautiful websites by the creators. I think they really add to our message, and they're visually very impressive.
Nice. That's cool. And Ido, same question for you, but actually I want to twist a little bit. What was the most fun part to build?
The most fun part to build? Well, I guess it was the teams and collaborations section for me, because
Nice.
of all the cool functionality inside it and the hover effects and the cool stuff.
Nice. That's really cool. That's really cool. I know we got a ton of questions that are slightly unrelated to today's webinar, but we should try and get back to you. We'll see. Some of them will be answered by the team here in the Q&A. You can also jump into the community if you want to ask these questions there. So we have other members in the community. So you go to editorxcommunity.com and people can jump in, they can share their thoughts. And we have also our team there to try and answer these questions to you. So I just want to make sure that we stay within the theme, but I know some questions are really good, but just not answered, probably not going to be answered just now. But let me see, there are more coming in. I'm trying to get all of them because there are a lot of them. Another one for you, Ido. Are you ready? Is there a way to make the background image go all the way to the top underneath the header? I think we did that for the off Barcelona website, probably.
The background image all the way to the top underneath the header. You mean that the header is like, oh, I understand, like for the header to be transparent over the background image?
Possibly. If whoever asked the question wants to, let me see who asked that.
So if
Yeah,
if
Bruno.
that if that's the question, so if you set in editor X, if you set your header to fixed, then you have a setting there of overlap next section. And if your header is transparent, it will overlap the next section with the background image on it, and then the background image will be visible behind the header.
Gotcha. Does it answer your question, Bruno? I think he said, yep. Just want to check. Yeah, cool. Another question for you. Oh my God, getting tons of questions here. The image with the slow movement animation, is that originally a still image which becomes animation or animated with the code?
I'm assuming that we're referring to this image.
Maybe these are two images, right?
Yeah, there are two images here. Let me just, if I just refresh this, and if we go in here, no, we didn't see it. Just let me refresh again.
Yeah.
So you mean when we scroll down and we have this image coming in? This one.
Imagine so, yeah.
All right.
Oh, there he goes. I mean the image with the blur animation. Oh, the one for the code at the very bottom.
The image with the blur animation.
That's the one, Yunus.
So what was the question about it?
That image that has a slow movement. So I believe that's the one. That's exactly it. So is that a still image that's just moving with code? And I think it is, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we showed. It's a still image that we're moving around, and of course, the container that it's in is set to be overflow hidden. So in that way, we don't see the image outside of it.
Got it. Got it. And also, Yunus, since you asked this question, Ido is showing the screen there. At the bottom there, you have the copy code. You can copy that code and then you can play around and see how that works. Okay. Another question for you, Ido. Oh my God, very popular. Is there a way to set items inside a repeater to sticky?
No, I don't think you can do that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see if there are more questions. Oh my God, there's a lot. I'm trying to catch up with all the questions here, guys, but if you have more questions that are coming in, just now feel free to post them. There's one from Pratan. Pratan is a really, really good contributor to our community, and he's really excited with our hover interactions, and he's asking you, maybe Maria, that's for you, if we're going to have a webinar, if you could have a webinar that's going to specifically talk about the hover interactions.
I don't believe it's coming up soon in our pipeline, but noted. And we can definitely do a dedicated interactions webinar. I'll talk to the team.
Awesome. Cool. Good question. Let's see what else we have in here. If there's any question that's also related to today's webinar. Oh, if you're asking in the chat, just want to make sure you guys ask in the Q&A, because that's the page I'm looking at, just in case. Oh, look at that. More people are. Cecilia is like, yes, webinar for hovers. And Lisa as well. I'd love to dedicate a hover interactions webinar too.
On it, we hear you.
No pressure. Let's see. Another question. On the layer panel, I think that's for you, Ido. On the layer panel, can you move one container from another section to another? Oh, can you move a container from one section to another?
You can do it. You can do it right now. You can do it with like you can cut and paste. Dragging it will only work within the section itself.
Got it. Makes sense. Another question for you, Ido. Can you easily run a video instead of the pictures inside the containers?
Excuse me, can you ask again?
Can you run a video instead of an image inside a container?
Yes, definitely. You can add a video box. You can add a single video player to a container, no problem.
Pretty straightforward. Another question that came in the chat, but I just happened to have read this because it's very similar. Can you add audio inside a container? You can add
like an audio player.
Perhaps a player, right?
We have a, let me see how it's called here. If by audio it means like the audio player, then we have audio players, like mini audio players that we can add.
Walter is saying no players, but maybe Walter, if you want to elaborate, or even if you want to ping us this question on the community, I'll make sure that I'll talk to Ido so we can follow up with you there. And just a reminder for people asking if they can watch a replay of this webinar because they came in late. Yes, you can. So if you go to our editorx.com/academy/webinars, it's going to be all available there. And the Off Barcelona webinar is also there. So you can also sign up for any other webinar that's coming up in the future, like the Velo one that we're going to do, and hopefully the Hover Interactions one that's hopefully going to come too. So I never know. You ask, we listen. So yeah, oh, cool. Yeah, no worries. Let's see if there are any other questions coming in. Let's see. And if you have questions for Maria as well, like you can feel free to ask. I know a lot of people want to see behind the code, behind the build, which is super cool and exciting. I'm also learning every single day that I'm listening to Ido talking, so it's good to be here. And let's see if we have more questions that are coming in. Some questions about adding effects. I think we can answer that in the community as well. Good question on the gloss and blur. Let's see. Any other questions on the homepage build, guys? I know a lot of the questions that are coming in are not necessarily on the homepage. I know Ryan had some questions as well. I want to make sure I get back to you, Ryan. I know you asked some questions in the chat as well. I
actually want to get back to the user that asked us about adding sticky to a repeater item. I will check it out if we can get the details of this user, and I will get back to him personally on that, because I see that we can actually set this to sticky. Let's see what it does.
It sounds good.
Well, it's not actually setting it to sticky, but let me get back to him on that.
Perfect. That sounds good. That sounds good. Any other questions, guys, related to our homepage build? Oh, David's saying, like, love the range of customization of interacting elements on the homepage. Thank you. You can pass it on, and I'll make sure that Ido is going to pass this on to our team behind the build, which is really, really cool. Again, if you have a really cool website you have built that you're really proud of, go to our contest page and submit it there. If you have more questions that are related to other things, not necessarily on the homepage, you can ask away in the community. If you have anything that's a bit more related to SEO as well, you can ask us. We have an SEO expert here with us today. I'm actually saying, I don't have a question, but I just want to say Editor X is amazing. Thank you. We're super happy, and I'll pass this on to the team. Cool. Let's see if there are any other new questions coming in here in the chat box and the Q&A. I guess there isn't. Okay. Cool, guys. I mean, I'm super excited, and thank you everyone for sticking with us today. It was really, really good. So Bruno Clement, thank you for the great webinar. Merci. You're welcome. Tuan, thank you. Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Ido, again, for your time and for sharing your wisdom with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. And see you next time.